I'm now back in Tirana, and there is a word you can almost figure out yourself. She was shaking the cages earlier, perhaps to get them awake. Okay, as you can see, I'm getting myself comfortably lost in the midst of a residential interior block, if you will. I have to take a turn here so I stay in it. That looks like too much of a main street. But I'm sure there'll be more adventures further on. Ah, here's the street here. How some of the people live. As ugly as these buildings are, you have no idea what they're like inside. The odds are they reflect the same standards that vary with family, as is true in the United States and probably everywhere else. Now, inevitably here I'm going to run into a dead end. That's usually the case, and this is going to be it. So I'll just go pursue it for fun. I don't know what the purpose of this thing was at one time. Oh, there's a seat outside this place. Oh, it still keeps on. No, I guess this is the end. Yep, this is the end. Interesting that this shop is right in the midst of all of this. Oh, this way could look like a little park here. Oh, there's a store in there for the neighborhood. Look how this, either the owner, I would guess, at one time, when they decided to paint that building, put in that little detail of bare trees in yellow and green. It's these little nuances that I look for, just because they seem to suggest something about the spirit of a people. It'd be interesting to know when that was done. It looks quite old, and they've only been out from underneath communism for less than, I think, 20 years. Look at how these door assemblies cover the whole thickness of the wall. And that says it all, Mini Mart. The bread, I saw these at this little lady's counter, and they were so pretty I couldn't avoid buying one, which she wrapped. Form of entertainment and exercise. I think that's the police up on top, probably monitoring whatever. So I'm in a different Chinese restaurant tonight that Klaus suggested. It's called the Ness, and it's in the Blloku section. This is the section that I was in earlier this week when I got here, that was cordoned off for the elite of the Communist Party, and now it pretty much favors just those who have the bucks, and that includes the diplomatic corps of most nations that are here, including, I'm sure, the United States. The park really comes alive in the evening on a Sunday, as opposed to the afternoon I spent partially sleeping on a bench to the right. Strip of colored lighting that, of course, is most dramatic in the evening and pretty on this pedestrian street that goes up here and wraps around the park. Over time, Tirana should transform itself into a modern-looking city. And I think these are the walls of a fort, Tirana Fort. I heard it alluded to. I don't know how old these doors are.
He's an old man and he got the key.
Kalaja means capital. I mean castle. And the two boys told me that I could get a key to get in from an old man, but I haven't time. Funny that I hadn't noticed that this was what it was when I'd first walked by. All this looks much prettier at night for some reason, and oftentimes these towns do. Even this base of the round tower looks more interesting in this light. Tomorrow I leave for Berat in the south. You see here the road will curve right around this park to the right that we've seen in the daytime. I think right down to the river. Pretty to see the effect that these lights make. Looking back down the street I come up from, Skander Bay Square on, and here the market, actually it's the market back directly behind in the center, the market's in front. This one's too expensive, but all the area back in behind those buildings, that's more moderately priced. And then up this street is the street to my hostel.